Hi, 7th grade. Yesterday you were supposed to be doing a lesson that talked about ratios, rates, and proportions with a foldable. Today what I want to do is I want to go over the tic-tac-toe and apply that strategy to some word problems. And so you should have already gotten a green sheet that looks like this. And so I wanted to show you what it's going to look like in your journal so you have an idea. And I apologize I wasn't as ready as I wanted to be. And it is right here. So yesterday we took all of these notes, and today what we're going to do is we're going to apply the strategy to each of these questions. And so what you have, I want you to go ahead and cut these out. Eventually you can either tape or you can glue, and then we're going to solve these together. Okay? All right, let's look at the first one. I am on, so in the actual journal for this year, I'm going to put it on my right side. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 through 5 together, and what I want you to do is do 6 through 11 by yourself independently. All right. So go ahead and just cut that, set it aside, and put that on another sheet of paper. Not another sheet of paper. So if you are on the right side, put number 6 through 11 on the back side, and I want you to solve them the same way and show everything in your journal, okay? All right, so let's look at number 1. Remember that each one of these, you will set up a tic-tac-toe. And remember that each one has a ratio number 1, ratio number 2. And remember that when we're reading a word problem, it always reads left to right, but in our scoreboard it goes up and down, okay? So first I want to read the problem. At a checkpoint on Hudson Road, a survey crew found that 1,140 cars, that is important, okay, went by between 3 and 4 o'clock. How many cars pass the checkpoint each minute? So we have already, I notice that we talked about an hour, but they want to know how many per minute, right? And my question, how many cars per minute? So we know that in 1 hour, what is that that's right, it's 60 minutes. Okay, so now I have my 2 labels are going to be the number of cars, that's right, time, which is going to be minutes. So let's look at the first ratio. The first one is 1,140 cars every 60 minutes, right? Okay, because we converted it. So 1,140 per hour. And I want to know how many cars go through in 1 minute. So if you notice, this is a ratio and this is a ratio. And we're using the relationship of this proportion to find our unknown. So remember that I can divide both, I can reduce up and down or side by side. Okay, I cannot reduce 60 and 1, but I can reduce these two numbers. And if you notice, if I divide both by 10, that eliminates a 0 and a 0. I could probably reduce more, okay, but I don't have to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. I pick the two numbers, okay, that are across from each other. So 114 times 1 is equal to, remember I don't have a 60 now, I have a 6, 6x. So what it means is now I have to divide both sides by 6 to reduce or to isolate x, and you will get 19 cars. Okay? Now the other way, a lot of you, we're going to be reviewing equations in our next unit. But what you do is the two numbers that are directly across, you multiply and then divide by the number that is across from x. Okay? Let's do the next one together. I'm trying to do that. I know that I'm not going directly out because I'm trying to have enough space. All right, so we have, and I probably should have, okay. So a grocery store finds that salt-free margarine is preferred by 1 out of 8. That is a ratio, okay? So I already have my first ratio, and it's 1 out of every 8 customers, okay? So ratio number 2, if the store orders 200 cases of margarine, how many should be salt-free? Okay. So salt-free. And then now I have total customers. Okay, I'll enlarge that a little bit. So where would 200 cases be? That's right, it's the total. If the store orders 200 cases, they want to know, and my question mark or my variable is how many of those would be salt-free, okay? Now, I can reduce these two. I could do it by 2, right? Right, you can always keep on reducing. So I could do it by 4. Okay, so if I reduce by 4, or could I even go, okay, most of you, let's see, if we divide by 4, I get 2. Okay, and if I reduce by 4, I will get 50. Can I reduce those even more? Absolutely. Both have a common factor of 2. Divided by 2, divided by 2 gives me 1 and gives me 25. Now my numbers are really easy to work with. I pick the 2 numbers that are diagonal that do not have an x. So 25 times 1 is equal to 1 times x is x. So x equals 25. Okay? Really, it's pretty simple, but the main thing is you have to learn how to set it up properly with the right labels. Okay? All right, let's look at number 3. Cynthia, she walked 14 miles in 4 hours. What was her average speed in miles per hour? At that rate, how long would she take to walk to the post office, which is 0.7 or 7/10 miles away? Okay, let's set it up and put our labels. All right. What are our labels? Well, we talk about miles and then hours. Now, your first ratio was 14 miles, I'm starting to lose my voice, in 4 hours. Now they want to know how many hours when it's 7/10 miles away. That's right, you're going to put the 7/10 right there. And some of you are already, oh no, I have to do decimals. And we're looking for the time, okay? Can I reduce anything? Absolutely. Or you don't have to. And so that's your decision, is you want to make sure. Some of you are kind of scared to simplify. You're afraid you're going to make a mistake. But the alternative is to have big numbers. So just, it's your call. All right. So what we have is we take the 2 numbers and multiply those. 4 times 7/10 is equal to 14 times x. And remember that to undo this multiplication, to isolate my x, I have to divide by 14, which is why I say to multiply the 2 numbers and then divide by your number across from x. So I'm showing you 2 different ways. We can eliminate this because we've isolated, because 14 divided by 14 is 1x, and we don't have to show that 1. Okay? So 4 times 7/10 is actually, I'll do the math for you, 2 8/10, and then we're going to divide that by 14. And my x is equal to, when you do the math, 2/10. Okay? And we can convert that, but in hours, it is 2/10. If I were to divide an hour up into tenths, okay, it would be about 6 minutes, so it would be about 12 minutes. All right, let's look at number 4. Ratio number 1, ratio number 2. Okay, how much will 12 ounces of cheese cost if it sells for $3.20 per pound? Okay, they gave us a dollar label, and they also gave, we're going to put, because here if you notice we're talking about ounces and we're talking about pounds, but we want to know 12 ounces, so my other label needs to be ounces. Now if it's $3.20 per pound, what is a pound in ounces? 16. Okay, so make sure that you have the same unit. Now I'm looking for how much, that's going to be my variable, for 12 ounces. Okay, can I simplify here? Absolutely. I can divide both of these numbers by 4, and that gives me 4, and it gives me 3. Can I even simplify any more? We could do this, but yeah, you could divide both by 4. We're getting into decimals, okay? I can divide this by 4 and divide this by 4, and it gives me 1. I'll go ahead and cross that out. If I divide this by 4, it now becomes 8/10. Okay? Now my numbers are a little bit easier to work with. So 8/10 times 3 is equal to 1x. And if you do the math, it becomes, that's right, $2.40. Okay? And the last one, I'm going to help you set it up, and then I want you to finish solving it, and you will complete the other 6 problems on your own. Okay? Number 1 and number 2. So Joseph got 9 hits in his last 20 times at bat in the baseball game. What was his batting average during that time? And a batting average is the number of hits per 1,000 times at bat. So what that means is we have hits and times at bat. Okay? So here we have, they gave us a ratio of this one player. It was 9 out of 20. And statistically, your batting average is, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for his batting average, which is the number of hits per 1,000 times at bat. Okay? Always remember that I can reduce a 0, divide both numbers by 10, and I'm left with 2 and 100. I can divide both of those numbers by 2. That gives me 1, and it gives me a 50. So now I have much easier numbers to work with. And if you notice, whenever you have a 1 across from your x, your answer is the other 2 numbers multiplied, the cross product. So 9 times 50 is equal to x, which is 450. There you go. Go ahead and glue it down and complete the last 6 problems, and I will see you in class tomorrow.